If you are somebody that is on an unconventional life path, then unfortunately you're going to have to accept not only are you going to disappoint people, but people are not going to get what you want to do with your life. And the reason that is because so many people get caught in society's trap. Now, what is society's trap? Society's trap is simply there to keep you as a worker. They want you to keep doing the same thing you're doing every day. They don't want change because what happens when we change, we evolve. And unfortunately, the people at the top don't want people to evolve because then we start questioning the ideologies, we question the people at the top. And if you essentially are a dumb worker and you're closed-minded and you are very stuck in your routine, then you simply won't question the big things in life. You will be happy enough going to work, coming back home, sitting down on the sofa, watching Netflix and having your takeaway. And there's no issue with that. Honestly, there's no judgment. And I want to get that across because I myself, I am super respectful of everybody and their life choices. But you also have to accept when you're on this unconventional life path, the majority of people are simply not going to understand what or why you're doing the things you're doing. Now, there's a few different factors as to why this happens, but number one is because people like to build a self-image of yourself. So, for example, in my workplace, I realized very early on that, my full self, which I believe to be quite confident, quite a talkative person, and quite positive, I realized that those kind of that energy I was putting out there wasn't really being reciprocated, and it was quite a low energy in the workplace. So what I did was I suppressed parts of myself, and I quietened down. I even dumbed myself a little bit because I didn't want it to seem like I'm trying to prove something. So instead, I jested a bit. I played the fool, and you could say that that helped me in my favor because then one thing I don't like to do is to over explain my choices and have to give a reason for everything that I'm doing. And at the end of the day, I'd be saying this to people that I don't really care about. So therefore, I made it my own decision to keep a lot of my stuff private and yeah, become more of a private individual, I guess, because when I came in, I was very open about what I was doing. And I noticed people weren't getting too, not aroused. I don't want to use the word aroused because that's a different setting. But they were getting a bit uncomfortable with the things that I was doing in my life. Now, because I started suppressing parts of myself, I noticed, obviously, because of that choice, I noticed that I was living constantly in my head. Now, what happens when you live in your head? You live in a arena of constant self-doubt because I was always filtering what I'm about to say. That made me constantly think in my mind, should I say this? Should I change that? And that was purely because the way I went into my workplace about a year ago was I was very open about who I was and expressing myself. And I realized that I was saying certain things that I would constantly joke about to my friends and people I know. It'd be normal conversation, but some people in this workplace weren't taking that too well. So I realized in myself that I have to adapt my approach a little bit. But by doing that, I was suppressing parts of myself. And it's not a great thing to suppress yourself because obviously, like I said, you end up living in your head. But when you also live in your head, you end up feeling very numb, depressed, possibly a bit sad. And that is truly because I believe the opposite of depression is expression. So when you're suppressing yourself, you do end up a bit depressed. And I don't think that's something that's psychologically wrong with you, but instead a choice that you're making. And yeah, it is cope. It is cope. But the moment you start being your real self, and not only that, but making changes in the life, because obviously we all have a person that we want to become, and we're all aware that the person right now needs to take certain actions, and most of it is a bit of a change. You know, we realize if we want to become a higher version of ourselves, we can't keep repeating the same thing over and over again. We need to start making changes and bring that into our daily routine more often. So we all understand that. So what I would say is always be respectful of other people's life choices. You don't want to be that knobhead that, you know, that thinks they're better than everybody else, because, you know, nobody likes that guy. You know, he's arrogant, he's cocky, and you don't. He's not a guy you'd want to go for a beer with. Instead, be respectful of other people on their journey, because we're all on our own journeys. So respect that, but never let somebody talk you into not doing something you believe in. If you wholeheartedly believe in something, you do that. Forget about that opinion. And I don't even care if it's family, if it's a partner, if it's a close friend, it doesn't matter. If you wholeheartedly believe in something, you do that. And it doesn't matter what they think. All that matters is your conviction in what you're doing. Because I promise you, if you fully believe in what you're doing and constantly make those steps to make it happen, you will prosper. It is literally impossible to not prosper. If you continue going at it, you will prosper. So I want to get that across. Something magical happens when you stop needing other people's approval. And what that magic is you discovering your own power. And you're not going to get that by listening to other people's opinions and validations all the time and thinking, what should I do? Maybe I should get this job because my dad told me to get it. You know, it'd be a nice, comfortable job. No, no. Listen, you've got to do what you believe in, because what kind of life is it? You constantly listening to other people's opinions and validations. And the reality is, all those opinions from other people, they are literally branches from trees that have been planted from the people at the top because they want society to run in a certain way, and they all just want people to be safe and certain in their path. And we all want a sense of certainty, right? But we have to embrace the uncertainty. We have to embrace being misunderstood. And that way, you can live an unconventional path like you're doing, but you will prosper at the end of it. Just know that.